The moment Victoria Hale walked into that wedding reception, she had one rule: don't get involved. But when she spotted him, the man in the corner booth deliberately shrinking into the shadows, something stopped her cold. Adrian Blake was drowning in plain sight, and nobody even noticed. What happened next would shatter both their carefully constructed walls forever. This is a story about two people who had given up on life finding each other in the most unexpected place. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The Sterling Grand Hotel ballroom pulsed with carefully orchestrated joy. Crystal chandeliers threw fractured light across 200 guests dressed in their Saturday best, all gathered to witness the union of Marcus Chen and Jennifer Lawson, two people who, according to the speeches already delivered, were absolutely perfect for each other. The band played something upbeat but forgettable. Champagne flowed, laughter erupted in predictable waves. Adrian Blake sat in the back corner and wished he were anywhere else. Not just anywhere else in the ballroom, anywhere else in the world. His table, number 17, had been positioned near the kitchen doors, where the catering staff made their hurried entrances and exits. The placement wasn't accidental. Marcus, his friend since high school, knew Adrian well enough to understand what he needed: proximity to an escape route and maximum distance from attention. Adrian's fingers traced the condensation on his water glass, his third. He'd arrived exactly when the ceremony ended, timing it so he'd miss the photos but make it before dinner. 2 hours, he'd promised himself. Show face, congratulate Marcus, slip out before the dancing started. Simple. Controlled. His daughter Emma's voice echoed in his head from that morning. "Dad, you look weird in that suit." "Thanks, sweetheart." "I mean, it's nice weird. Like you're pretending to be someone fancy." She'd been right, of course. The navy suit was new, bought specifically for this wedding, and it felt like armor he hadn't earned. At 32, Adrian still looked young enough to get carded occasionally, though the permanent shadows under his eyes aged him. His brown hair needed a cut. It touched his collar now. And his hands, calloused and scarred from 12 years of construction work, looked out of place wrapped around the delicate champagne flute servers kept trying to give him. "No thanks," he'd told them each time, sticking with water. The woman at the next table kept glancing over. She was maybe 50, dressed in purple, clearly someone's aunt. Adrian could see her working up to conversation. That particular lean forward, the eye contact attempt, the smile warming up. He'd developed a sixth sense for it over the years. He checked his watch, 7:43. Another hour, 17 minutes, minimum. The MC's voice boomed through the sound system. "And now, if everyone could take their seats, dinner is about to be served." Adrian relaxed slightly. Food meant people would stop circulating, stop scanning the room for someone to talk to. He could eat, appear engaged with his plate, and the time would pass. His table filled slowly. A young couple who couldn't stop touching each other. An elderly man who immediately pulled out his phone. Two bridesmaids still buzzing from the ceremony. Their conversation a rapid-fire exchange about someone named Trevor, who may or may not have been invited. "Is anyone sitting here?" Adrian looked up. A woman in her late 20s stood beside the empty chair to his right, gesturing to it with a wine glass. "No, go ahead." She sat, arranged her dress, something dark green that looked expensive, and immediately turned her attention to her phone. Adrian appreciated people who understood the unspoken agreement, were sharing space, not starting friendships. Salads arrived. The couple to his left fed each other. The bridesmaids had moved on to someone named Keith. The elderly man ate methodically without looking up from his screen. Adrian made it through the salad. Then the main course, chicken or beef. He'd checked beef but couldn't remember why. The woman next to him ate quietly, occasionally sipping her wine, checking her phone maybe twice. She had this economy of movement, everything precise but not performative. The speeches started during dessert. Marcus's best man went first, some story about college that got the expected laughs. Then Jennifer's sister crying through a prepared speech about love and destiny. Then Marcus's father, who kept it short and sincere. Then Marcus himself stood up. "I want to thank everyone for being here," he started, and Adrian felt himself relax again. Standard stuff, almost home free. "But before we go any further, I need to acknowledge someone special." Adrian's stomach dropped. "Most of you know I've been friends with Adrian Blake since we were 15 years old." No. Adrian sitting back there by the kitchen. Stand up, man, don't be shy. 200 heads turned. Adrian felt his face burn. His hands gripped the tablecloth. Adrian's the guy who taught me what real strength looks like, Marcus continued, his voice thick with emotion. 10 years ago, when his wife left him with a 6-month-old daughter, he could have fallen apart. Instead, he built a construction business from nothing, raised Emma completely alone, and became the best father I've ever seen. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't ask for help. He just does it every single day. The applause started, scattered at first, then building. Adrian, you showed me that being a man isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up, every morning, every night, no matter what. So thank you, brother, for being real. The applause crescendoed. People at nearby tables were standing. Adrian felt like his skin was too tight, like the walls were closing in. His throat constricted. The lights seemed brighter. He stood, not because he wanted to, but because not standing would create a scene. He raised one hand in acknowledgement, managed something that might have passed for a smile, and sat back down as quickly as possible. His hands were shaking. Breathe. The voice came from his right. The woman in the green dress was looking at him, not with pity, not with curiosity. Something else. What? You're not breathing. Breathe. Adrian realized she was right. His chest felt tight, his breath shallow. In through your nose, she said quietly. Out through your mouth, slow. But he did. Once, twice. Better? Yeah, he managed. Thanks. She turned back to her dessert like nothing had happened. The speeches continued. Jennifer's father, the maid of honor. Adrian heard none of it. His heart was still racing, his face still flushed. The band started up again, something slower now, romantic. The dance floor filled with couples swaying to music Adrian didn't recognize. That was cruel, the woman said suddenly. Adrian looked at her. What? Your friend, that speech. He meant well, but it was cruel. He put you on display without asking, made you the emotional centerpiece of someone else's wedding, forced gratitude from a man who clearly doesn't want attention. She sipped her wine. Well-intentioned cruelty is still cruelty. Adrian stared at her. Who are you? Victoria Hale. She extended her hand. Friend of Jennifer's mother. You? You already know who I am. His voice came out harder than intended. I know your name and one version of your story, the heroic single-father version. She withdrew her hand when he didn't shake it. But that's the performance, isn't it? The acceptable narrative. You don't know anything about me. I know you've been watching the exits since I sat down. I know you checked your watch 6 times during dinner. I know you're calculating exactly how soon you can leave without it being noticed. She paused. I know because I do the same thing. Adrian felt something shift. A recognition he didn't want to acknowledge. Why are you talking to me? Because you looked like you might pass out, and I have experience with panic attacks. She set down her wine glass. And because everyone else is pretending they didn't see it. The music shifted, something upbeat now. The dance floor packed tighter. I don't have panic attacks, Adrian said. Right. You just stop breathing in crowded rooms for fun. Despite himself, Adrian almost smiled. Almost. Victoria stood, smoothing her dress. I'm going outside for air. You should too. You're still flushed. She walked toward the terrace doors without waiting for a response. Adrian watched her go, confident stride, head up, like she owned every room she entered. He should stay seated. 2 hours was almost up. He could leave in 20 minutes, text Marcus later, and forget this whole night. Instead, he found himself standing. The terrace wrapped around the east side of the ballroom, overlooking the hotel's manicured gardens. String lights crisscrossed overhead. A few smokers clustered near the far railing. Victoria stood alone closer to the doors, her back to the ballroom. Adrian stepped outside. The October air hit him immediately. Crisp, clean, shocking after the ballroom's warmth. Feel better? Victoria asked without turning around. How'd you know I'd follow you? Because you're still trying to prove you're fine. And the best way to prove you're fine is to act normal. Normal people don't flee weddings after emotional speeches about them. Adrian joined her at the railing. Below, the gardens stretched into darkness, dotted with solar lights along the pathways. You're very sure of yourself, he said. I'm observant.
There's a difference. They stood in silence for a moment. Inside, the music thumped.
Someone laughed too loud. "So what's your story?" Adrian asked. Friend of the bride's mother doesn't exactly scream, "I wanted to be here." Catherine Lawson and my mother served on a charity board together. When my mother passed, Catherine stepped in as a sort of mentor. I owe her. So when she invited me to her daughter's wedding, I came. Victoria's voice was matter-of-fact, no emotion wasted. "But you're right. I didn't want to be here." "Then why not just say no?" "Because sometimes we do things we don't want to do for people who matter." She glanced at him. "You understand that." Adrian bristled. "You don't know what I understand." "Your daughter, Emma." Victoria said the name carefully, like handling something fragile. "You do 100 things you don't want to do every day, for her." "That's different. She's my kid." "Is it? Different?" Victoria turned to face him fully now. "Or is it just the only socially acceptable reason a man is allowed to sacrifice himself?" "I'm not sacrificing myself." "No? What do you do for you, Adrian? What's one thing in your life that's just for yourself?" The question landed like a punch. Adrian felt anger rise, hot and defensive. "I run a business. I provide for my family. For Emma. For the business. For responsibility." Victoria's voice stayed level. "Not for you. You've known me for 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, I've watched you apologize for existing. You sat at the worst table in the room. You tried to make yourself invisible. When someone praised you publicly, you nearly had a breakdown." She paused. "When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy?" Adrian's jaw clenched. "You don't know my life." "You're right. I don't." Victoria leaned back against the railing. "But I recognize the pattern, the constant measuring, the careful rationing of joy, the belief that wanting anything for yourself is selfish. And you're different?" "No." The admission surprised him. "I'm exactly the same, just with different reasons." Adrian studied her. In the string lights, her features were clearer, sharp cheekbones, dark hair pulled back simply, minimal makeup. She looked tired in a way that expensive clothes couldn't hide. "What are your reasons?" he asked. "Money." She said it simply. "I have more of it than I'll ever need, and it's made me responsible for too many people. Family members who made bad investments, friends who started businesses, charities that need board members who can write big checks." She smiled without warmth. "Everyone needs something, so I give it, and I tell myself that's enough." "Is it? Is raising Emma enough for you?" The question hung between them. Inside, someone announced the cake cutting. "She's everything to me," Adrian said finally. "I believe you, but that's not what I asked." Adrian looked away. Down in the gardens, a couple walked slowly along the lit path, holding hands. 10 years, he said quietly. Emma's mother left when she was 6 months old. Just left. Walked out one morning while Emma was napping, left a note on the kitchen counter. "I can't do this. I'm sorry." The words came out flat, rehearsed from repetition. No forwarding address, no contact since. "I filed for full custody. Built the business during her naps and after bedtime. My parents helped at first, but they passed within a year of each other. So it's been just us." "That's the story Marcus told," Victoria said. "Now tell me the true part." "That is true. It's facts. Facts aren't truth." She turned to face him directly. "The truth is how you feel about it." Adrian's hands gripped the railing. "What do you want me to say, that I'm angry? That some days I resent her mother so much I can't see straight? That I love Emma more than anything, but sometimes I wake up at 3 a.m. wondering what my life would have been if—" He stopped himself. "If you'd had a choice," Victoria finished. "I didn't mean you did. And it's okay." Her voice was gentle now. "Love and resentment aren't opposites. They coexist, especially when you didn't choose the burden." "She's not a burden. The responsibility is. The endless, crushing weight of being everything to someone." Victoria's eyes held his. "You can love Emma and still hate what it cost you." Adrian felt something crack open in his chest, something he'd kept sealed for a decade. "I was 22, he said. "I had plans. I was going to travel, maybe go back to school. Sarah, Emma's mom, we weren't even serious.
We'd been dating 8 months when she got pregnant. We did the right thing, got married.
Tried to make it work. He laughed bitterly. She lasted 6 months of motherhood. I'm on year 10.
Do you hate her for leaving? Every day? The admission came easier than expected. And I'm grateful she did, because Emma deserves better than a mother who didn't want her. But yeah, I hate her. And yourself? Adrian went still. What? Do you hate yourself for not being enough to make her stay? The question cut too deep. Adrian pushed away from the railing. I should go. Running again. No, I'm just being responsible. Going home to Emma. Doing the right thing. Victoria didn't move. It's 10 p.m. on a Saturday. Emma's with a babysitter. You have nowhere you need to be, so why are you running? Because this is, Adrian gestured helplessly. I don't know you. You don't know me. This whole conversation is honest? Invasive. Both. Victoria smiled slightly.
When was the last time someone asked you a real question, Adrian? Not, how's Emma? Or, how's business? When did someone last ask about you? Adrian couldn't remember. Literally couldn't remember. That's what I thought, Victoria said quietly. Inside, the music shifted again, something slow and old-fashioned. Through the terrace doors, Adrian could see Marcus and Jennifer in the center of the dance floor, swaying in that awkward, intimate way of newlyweds. You should go dance with someone, Adrian said, desperate to shift focus. Should I? Isn't that what people do at weddings? I don't dance. Ever? Not in years. Victoria followed his gaze to the dance floor. I don't do things I'm not good at. That's sad. So is sitting at table 17 avoiding life? Adrian almost laughed. Touché. They fell into silence, not uncomfortable, but waited. Adrian felt hyper-aware of everything. The music, the cooling air, the woman standing 3 feet away who'd somehow extracted more truth from him in 20 minutes than anyone had in years. I have a confession, Victoria said suddenly. What? I didn't come out here for air. I came out here to see if you'd follow me. Adrian blinked. Why? Because I wanted to know if I was right about you. Right about what? That you're not invisible. You're hiding. She turned to face him fully. There's a difference. Invisible people don't get seen. People who hide are making an active choice. And what if I like hiding? Then you're lying to yourself. Victoria's voice was soft but firm. People who like hiding don't look as miserable as you did in that ballroom. Maybe I just hate weddings. Maybe. Or maybe you hate being reminded that other people get to choose joy while you're still choosing duty. Adrian felt his defenses slam back up. You don't know anything about my choices, so tell me I'm wrong. Victoria stepped closer. Tell me you're happy, that you wake up excited for your days, that you feel fulfilled and complete and exactly where you want to be. Adrian opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That's what I thought, Victoria said quietly. Why do you care? The question came out almost angry. You don't know me. After tonight, you'll never see me again. So why does any of this matter to you? Victoria was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, rawer. Because I'm 30 years old, and I just realized I've spent the last decade becoming exactly what everyone needed me to be. I manage a family trust worth 9 figures. I sit on 7 boards. I employ 43 people directly. And 6 months ago, I had a complete breakdown in my office at 2 in the afternoon because I couldn't remember the last time I laughed. Adrian stared at her. So when I see someone else drowning in plain sight, pretending they're fine, yeah, I care. Because misery recognizes misery, Adrian, and you're drowning. The words should have felt like an attack. Instead, they felt like recognition. I don't know how to stop, Adrian admitted quietly. Stop what? Drowning. Hiding. Whatever you want to call it. He ran a hand through his hair. I don't know how to be anything other than what I am. Emma needs me to be stable. The business needs me to be reliable. I don't get to fall apart. Who said anything about falling apart? Victoria leaned against the railing beside him. I'm talking about being honest, about admitting that maybe you want something more than just survival. Like what? I don't know. What did you want at 22, before everything changed? Adrian thought back. It felt like remembering someone else's life.
I wanted to build things, he said slowly. Not just houses, actual things. Furniture, maybe. Art pieces. My dad was a carpenter, and he used to let me mess around in his shop. I loved the smell of fresh wood, the way you could shape something with your hands. He smiled slightly at the memory. I was going to open a custom furniture shop, small batch stuff, quality over quantity. Why didn't you? Because custom furniture doesn't pay the bills when you have a baby, construction does. And now, Emma's 10. The business is established. Why not start the furniture shop? Adrian laughed without humor. With what time? What money? I work 60 hours a week just to keep things stable. Emma's in school, activities, needs braces next year. There's college to save for. I can't just choose yourself, Victoria finished. Can't choose joy. Can't want something that doesn't serve someone else. That's not fair. No, it's not. None of it's fair. She turned to look at him. But it's true. They stood in silence. Inside, the song ended. Another began. What about you? Adrian asked. 9-figure trust fund and you're miserable? What's stopping you from choosing joy? Guilt. Victoria said it immediately. My grandfather built that fortune from nothing. Immigrant factory worker who invented a manufacturing process everyone wanted. He died believing I'd continue his legacy, grow the wealth, take care of the family, use it for good. She paused. How do I walk away from that? How do I say thanks for the billions, but I'd rather open a bookstore or whatever the hell I actually want? Is that what you want? A bookstore? I don't even know anymore. That's the problem. Victoria's voice cracked slightly. I've been responsible for so long, I've forgotten what wanting feels like. Adrian understood that completely. We're quite a pair, he said. 2 people successfully pretending to have their shit together? Something like that. Victoria smiled, genuinely this time. At least we're honest about the pretending. Only with each other, apparently. Maybe that's enough. For tonight, anyway. They fell into another silence. This one felt different, less weighted, more peaceful. The music from inside filtered out, muffled but present. I should really go, Adrian said, but he didn't move. Probably. It's past your 2-hour limit. How did you checked your watch when you said it? Victoria looked at him. You're very predictable. Bad? Depends. Do you like being predictable? Adrian considered. I like being reliable. Also not what I asked. He smiled despite himself. You are persistent. I prefer thorough. Another song started, something instrumental and gentle. Dance with me, Victoria said suddenly. Adrian froze. What? You heard me? Dance with me. I told you, I don't. And I don't do things I'm not good at. So we'll both break our rules. She extended her hand. One dance. Then you can run home to safety. Adrian looked at her hand like it was a trap. Why? He asked. Because you've spent 10 years choosing what's safe, and I've spent 10 years choosing what's responsible. And just for 3 minutes, I want to see what it feels like to choose something else. Her eyes met his. Don't you? Adrian's heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at him to decline, to leave, to retreat to the safety of his carefully controlled life. But something Victoria said earlier echoed. People who hide are making an active choice. He took her hand. They moved to the far end of the terrace, away from the smokers, into a pool of string light. Victoria placed one hand on his shoulder. Adrian's hand found her waist, tentative, uncertain. They swayed, awkwardly at first, out of sync with the music. Adrian stepped on her foot. Sorry. It's fine. I'm terrible at this too. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be reassuring. It's meant to be honest. They found a rhythm, slow, simple. Nothing graceful, but functional. When was the last time you danced? Victoria asked. My wedding. You? A charity gala 3 years ago. Very drunk. Deeply regretted it. Adrian surprised himself by laughing. That bad? I fell into a waiter, spilled champagne on a state senator. Jesus. It made the society pages. They turned slowly. Above them, the string lights swayed in the breeze. Inside, the party continued without them. Can I ask you something? Adrian said. You're going to anyway. Why me? Out of everyone in that room, why did you choose to talk to me? Victoria was quiet for a moment, considering. Because you looked the way I feel, she said finally. Exhausted. Overwhelmed. Pretending. She paused. And because when Marcus made that speech, you looked exactly how I feel every time someone calls me successful. How's that? Trapped. The word hung between them. Adrian understood it completely, that sense of being locked into a narrative you didn't write but couldn't escape. I'm not unhappy, he said quietly. I love Emma. I'm proud of what I've built. But, Victoria prompted, but sometimes I wonder who I'd be if I got to just be, without the weight, without the performance. Yeah. They swayed in silence. The song was ending. I meant what I said earlier, Victoria said, about misery recognizing misery, but I also think, she hesitated. I think maybe we're not as stuck as we believe. We've just convinced ourselves that wanting more is selfish. Isn't it? I don't know, maybe. Or maybe we've been responsible for so long that we've forgotten we're allowed to want things too. The song ended. They stopped moving but didn't step apart. This was strange, Adrian said. Completely. I still don't really understand why it happened. Does it matter? Adrian thought about it. No, I guess not. Victoria stepped back, creating space between them. The October air felt suddenly colder. Thank you, she said. For what? For following me out here, for being honest, for dancing badly with me. She smiled. It helped. Yeah, Adrian admitted. It did. They stood there, neither quite ready to move. I should go find Catherine, Victoria said finally. Make my appearance. Do my duty. And I should probably say goodbye to Marcus. Probably. Neither moved. This is the part where we go our separate ways, Victoria said. Back to our separate lives. And tomorrow, this is just a weird conversation at a wedding we both didn't want to attend. Right, Adrian said. That's how this works. That's how it works. But Victoria pulled out her phone. What's your number? Adrian's heart jumped. Why? Because I'm tired of following the script. She looked at him directly. Because this conversation felt more real than anything I've experienced in months. And because maybe, just maybe, we could both use someone who understands the drowning. Adrian knew he should decline, should smile politely, make an excuse, and let this night end the way it was supposed to. As a strange blip, quickly forgotten. Instead, he recited his number. Victoria typed it in, then sent him a text. This is Victoria. In case you change your mind about drowning alone. Adrian's phone buzzed in his pocket. I'm not good at this, he said. Whatever this is, I don't date. I don't have time for... I'm not asking you to date me, Victoria interrupted. I'm asking if you want to get coffee sometime and complain about how much our lives don't fit us. That's bleak, but honest. Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who'd somehow seen through every defense he'd spent a decade building, who'd called him out and offered understanding in the same breath. Coffee, he said. Just coffee. Just coffee. No expectations. None. I have Emma most weekends, and the business... Adrian. Victoria's voice was gentle. It's coffee, not a marriage proposal. We'll find time or we won't. Either way, you have my number now. He nodded. Somehow, that made it easier. I should... He gestured toward the ballroom. Yeah, me too. But neither moved. The space between them felt charged with possibility and fear in equal measure. Finally, Victoria extended her hand. It was good to meet you, Adrian Blake. He shook it. You too, Victoria Hale. She turned and walked toward the terrace doors. Before stepping inside, she looked back. For what it's worth, she said, I don't think you're invisible at all. I think you're scared. Then she was gone, disappearing into the crowded ballroom. Adrian stood alone on the terrace, his phone heavy in his pocket, his mind racing. The smart thing, the safe thing, would be to delete her number, to let tonight be what it was supposed to be. A brief encounter, quickly forgotten. But as he walked back into the ballroom, found Marcus to say goodbye, and drove home through the quiet streets, Victoria's words echoed. People who hide are making an active choice, and for the first time in 10 years, Adrian wondered what would happen if he chose differently. Emma was asleep when he got home,
The babysitter reading on the couch. Adrian paid her, locked up, and checked on his daughter, her room painted the pale blue she'd chosen herself, her bookshelf overflowing with fantasy novels, her softball glove on the dresser. She looked peaceful, happy. He kissed her forehead gently, then retreated to his own room. His phone sat on the nightstand, Victoria's text still on the screen. Adrian stared at it for a long time. Then, before he could talk himself out of it, he typed, "This is Adrian, still drowning, in case you were wondering." The reply came fast. "Same. Coffee. Wednesday?" Adrian's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Wednesday was a work day. He'd have to shift schedules, move meetings. It would be complicated. Wednesday works. He set the phone down and lay back, staring at the ceiling. Something had shifted tonight, something fundamental and frightening and impossible to name. For 10 years, Adrian had built a life around certainty, around control, around knowing exactly what each day would bring. Now, lying in the dark, his daughter asleep down the hall, his business stable, his life perfectly ordered, he felt something he hadn't felt in a decade. Possibility. And it terrified him completely. Wednesday arrived faster than Adrian expected and slower than he wanted, a contradiction that left him off balance all week. He checked his phone compulsively, waiting for Victoria to cancel. She didn't. Tuesday night, she'd sent a simple text. "Riverside Cafe, 2 p.m. See you there." Now it was 1:45, and Adrian sat in his truck outside the cafe, trying to remember how to breathe normally. "This is stupid," he muttered to himself. "It's just coffee." Except it wasn't just coffee. It was the first time in a decade he'd arranged his life around something that wasn't Emma or the business. He'd moved 2 client meetings, left his foreman in charge of the Jefferson Street project, and told Emma he'd pick her up late from softball practice. "Hot date, Dad?" she'd asked that morning, grinning over her cereal. "Client meeting." "In jeans?" She'd pointed at his outfit, nicer jeans than usual, a button-down instead of his standard work shirt. "You look nervous." "I'm not nervous." "Your eye does that twitchy thing when you lie." 10 years old, and she could read him like a blueprint. Adrian had mumbled something about traffic and escaped to his truck. Now, watching people come and go from the cafe, he felt exposed. Ridiculous. A 32-year-old man shouldn't be this anxious about coffee. His phone buzzed. "I'm inside." Corner table. Adrian checked his reflection in the rearview mirror, still looked like himself, which was either reassuring or depressing, and got out of the truck. The Riverside Cafe occupied a converted warehouse space with exposed brick and too many plants. Adrian spotted Victoria immediately. She sat at a corner table as promised, dressed more casually than at the wedding. Dark jeans, a simple gray sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She was reading something on her phone, a half-finished latte in front of her. She looked up as he approached, smiled slightly. "You came. You sound surprised." "I gave it 50-50 odds." Victoria gestured to the chair across from her. "Sit. I already ordered, but the barista's still working through the line." Adrian sat, feeling awkward. The table was small. Their knees almost touched. "I wasn't going to bail," he said. "No? You didn't sit in your truck for 10 minutes debating it?" Adrian's face heated. "You saw that?" "Corner table has good sightlines." She set down her phone. "It's fine. I almost canceled 3 times myself." "Why didn't you?" "Same reason you're here, I think. Curiosity." She studied him. "You look different in daylight." "Different how?" "Less guarded. Or maybe just differently guarded." She paused. "How was your week?" The question should have been simple. Instead, Adrian felt its weight, the genuine interest behind it. "Complicated," he said. "We're behind on a commercial project. One of my guys quit without notice. Emma's school called about a field trip permission slip I forgot to sign." He stopped. "Sorry, you don't need my life inventory." "I asked, didn't I?" A barista appeared with Adrian's coffee, black, no sugar, and a pastry he hadn't ordered. "I got you the lemon scone," Victoria said. "You look like someone who wouldn't order himself a pastry, but would eat one if it appeared." She was right, which was unnerving. "Thanks," Adrian said, pulling the plate closer. They sat in silence for a moment. Adrian broke off a piece of scone. It was good, tart and buttery. "So," Victoria said finally,
This is awkward. Adrian almost choked on his coffee. What? This, us, sitting here making small talk when we both know we skipped about 6 normal steps to get here.
She leaned back in her chair. At the wedding, we talked about drowning and performance and all our damage. Now we're supposed to discuss the weather? I don't know the protocol for this. Neither do I. That's the problem. Victoria wrapped her hands around her latte. I haven't done this in years. The meeting someone new thing, the getting to know you dance. I'm out of practice. When was the last time? That I met someone new, or that I cared enough to try? Adrian considered. Either. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tracing patterns on her cup. 4 years ago, I dated someone, she said finally. Another board member. Very appropriate, very stable. He proposed after 18 months. What happened? I said no. She said it simply, like stating a fact. He wanted a wife who'd host dinner parties and chair committees and look good in photos, and I realized I'd rather be alone than perform for the rest of my life. Did you love him? I liked him, respected him, but love? She shook her head. I don't know if I've ever actually been in love, not the real kind anyway, the kind that isn't about convenience or expectations. Adrian understood that more than he wanted to admit. What about you? Victoria asked. Since your wife left, anyone? No. No one? In 10 years? Emma was my priority, still is. Adrian took a drink of coffee, using it as a shield. And honestly, the idea of letting someone in, of trusting someone with that much... He stopped. It seemed easier to just not. Easier or safer? Both. Victoria nodded slowly. I get that. Control is seductive. Is that what you do? Control things? It's what I'm good at. She smiled without humor. Money gives you control. You can fix problems, remove obstacles, make things happen. It's efficient. But you can't control people. Not really. And you can't buy the things that actually matter. She paused. Turns out that's most things. Adrian broke off another piece of scone. Outside the cafe windows, traffic moved steadily. People walked past with purpose, heading somewhere that mattered. Can I ask you something? He said. You keep asking permission. Just ask. At the wedding, you said you had a breakdown in your office. What happened? Victoria's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through her composure. Nothing dramatic, she said quietly. I was reviewing quarterly reports, standard stuff, and I just stopped. Couldn't remember why any of it mattered. The numbers, the meetings, the endless decisions about things I didn't care about. She looked down at her hands. I sat there for 2 hours, completely frozen. My assistant finally came in and found me crying. What did you do? Went home. Took a week off. Saw a therapist who told me I was burned out and needed to establish boundaries. She laughed bitterly, as if boundaries help when the prison is your own responsibility. Adrian felt that in his bones, the weight of obligations you couldn't escape because they were self-imposed. Did it help? The time off? For about 3 days. Then the guilt kicked in, all the people depending on me, the commitments I'd made. I went back early. She met his eyes. I'm very good at pretending I'm fine. Yeah, me too. They fell into silence again. This one felt less awkward, more like two people standing in the same room, acknowledging the elephant neither wanted to name. Why are we doing this? Victoria asked suddenly. Drinking coffee. Meeting, talking, pretending we're going to be friends or whatever this is. She leaned forward slightly. We're both too busy for this. Too controlled. So why? Adrian considered lying, deflecting. Instead, he chose honesty. Because on Saturday night, you saw me, really saw me, and I haven't felt seen in... He stopped, swallowed. Maybe ever. Victoria's eyes softened. Yeah, same. So what now? I don't know. She wrapped her hands tighter around her cup. I'm not good at the messy stuff, at not knowing the outcome. Join the club. A small smile. We're quite a pair. You said that at the wedding, too. Still true. Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his foreman, asking about a material delivery. He typed a quick response and set it face down on the table. Emma? Victoria asked. Work. Emma's at school. He paused. You don't have to ask about her every time, you know. I'm not just her father. I know, but she's important to you, so she's relevant. Victoria tilted her head. Does that bother you, people asking about her? Sometimes. It feels like it's the only thing I am. Emma's dad, the guy who raises his kid alone. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, which is unfair because she's the best thing in my life. But yeah, sometimes I want to be just Adrian. Who is just Adrian? The question landed harder than expected. I don't know anymore, Adrian admitted. I was 22 when everything changed. I barely knew who I was then. Now? He shrugged. I'm whoever I need to be. Father, boss, provider. The rest doesn't matter. It matters, Victoria said it firmly. You matter. Separate from your roles. Easy to say. Doesn't make it less true. Adrian looked at her. Really looked. At the woman who'd somehow decided he was worth her time despite having every reason not to care. Can I ask you something now? Victoria said. Fair's fair. At the wedding, when Marcus made that speech, what were you thinking right before you stood up? Adrian's jaw tightened at the memory. That I wanted to disappear. That everyone was looking at me and seeing this story I didn't write. The hero's single father. Yeah, except I don't feel like a hero. I feel like I'm drowning and everyone keeps telling me I'm swimming. Victoria nodded slowly. I know that feeling. Everyone sees success. I see obligation. Do you hate it? The money? Sometimes. Mostly I hate what it represents. My grandfather's expectations, my family's dependence, the weight of being responsible for generational wealth. She paused. It's a prison made of privilege, hard to complain about without sounding ungrateful. But you're complaining. To me. Because you get it. The trap of being needed. Adrian did get it. Completely. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Emma. Dad, can Mia come over after practice? Her mom said, okay. Adrian typed back, sure, I'll pick you both up at 5. Everything okay? Victoria asked. Yeah, Emma wants a friend over. He set the phone down again. Sorry, I'm distracted. It's fine. I get it. But Adrian shook his head. No, it's not fine. I'm here with you, and I keep... He gestured helplessly at his phone. I'm not good at this. Being present. Focusing on something that isn't responsibility. Then practice. What? Victoria reached across the table and gently pushed his phone further away. Practice being here. Just for an hour. The world won't end. Adrian's instinct was to argue, to explain why he needed to be available, reachable, ready. Instead, he left the phone where she'd moved it. Okay, he said. I'm here. Good. Victoria settled back in her chair. Now, tell me something real. I've been telling you real things. You've been telling me your damage. That's different. She considered. Tell me something you want. Not for Emma, not for the business. Something you want. Adrian opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. I don't know, he said finally. Yes, you do. You're just scared to say it. I want... He stopped, frustrated with himself. This is harder than it should be. That's because you've spent 10 years not wanting anything. So try. Victoria's voice was patient. What's one thing, just one, that you want for yourself? Adrian thought about the furniture shop he'd mentioned at the wedding, about the smell of fresh wood and the satisfaction of creating something beautiful, about mornings that didn't start with alarm clocks and schedules. I want time, he said quietly. Time to think, time to breathe, time to do something just because I feel like it, not because it serves a purpose. That's not selfish. Feels selfish. Wanting basic human things isn't selfish, it's survival. Victoria leaned forward. Adrian, you're allowed to want more than just duty. What about you? He deflected. What do you want? Victoria smiled slightly, like she'd expected the redirect. I want to wake up and not immediately think about obligations. I want to have a conversation that doesn't end in someone asking for money or favors. I want... She stopped, seemed to reconsider. I want to feel something that isn't responsibility or guilt. Like what? I don't know. Joy, excitement, the feeling that I'm living instead of managing. She looked down at her latte. I want what everyone wants, I guess. To matter for who I am, not what I have. Adrian understood that completely. The performance. The reduction of self to function. We're both pretty messed up, he said. Spectacularly. Victoria raised her cup in a mock toast. To being disasters and expensive clothes. Adrian clinked his coffee against hers. I'm not wearing expensive clothes. The metaphor still works. They both smiled, genuine this time. Can I tell you something? Adrian said. Please. I almost didn't come today. I sat in my truck convincing myself this was a mistake, that I don't have time for whatever this is, that it's going to complicate my life. And yet you're here. And yet I'm here. He paused. Why is that? Because maybe you're tired of the simple life. Victoria's eyes held his. Because maybe part of you wants the complication. Adrian's chest tightened. She was right, which terrified him. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. Whatever this is, I don't know the rules. Then we make our own. Victoria said it simply. No expectations, no timeline, just this. Coffee and honesty and seeing where it goes. That's terrifying. Good. That means it matters. Adrian's phone buzzed again, face down on the table, visible only as vibration. He didn't reach for it. Progress, Victoria noted. Don't celebrate yet. My anxiety is killing me. Mine too. She smiled. But we're doing it anyway. They talked for another hour. About nothing important and everything that mattered. Victoria told him about her mother's death 3 years ago. Sudden, unexpected, leaving her as the sole executor of a complicated estate. Adrian told her about his parents, the way they'd rallied around Emma when she was born, how their deaths within months of each other had left him truly alone. Sometimes I talk to my dad, Adrian admitted. In the workshop. When I'm working on something complicated. I know it's stupid, but it's not stupid. Victoria's voice was soft. I still set a place for my mother at Thanksgiving. Empty chair, full plate. My therapist says it's healthy grieving. I think it's just sad. Both things can be true. Yeah, they can. The cafe had filled around them, the afternoon crowd settling in with laptops and books. Adrian checked his watch, 4:15. I need to pick up Emma soon, he said, and hated how the words sounded, like retreat. I know. Victoria didn't seem offended. This was good, though. Yeah, it was. Neither moved to leave. Can I ask you something? Adrian said. Always. What do you want from this? From me? He gestured between them. Because I need to know what I'm doing here. What we're doing. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, her fingers still wrapped around her now empty cup. Honestly, she said finally, I don't know. I don't have a plan or an agenda. I just know that talking to you feels different than talking to anyone else. Like I can say the quiet parts out loud. Different how? Like I don't have to perform. She met his eyes. Like you see the actual me, not the version I've learned to present. Adrian felt something shift in his chest, recognition mixed with fear. I see you, he said quietly. I know. That's why this is terrifying. They sat in the weight of that admission. Outside, the afternoon light was starting to shift toward evening. I should go, Adrian said, though he didn't want to. When can I see you again? The question caught him off guard. You want to? Obviously. Victoria smiled slightly. Unless you're planning to ghost me after one coffee. No, Adrian hesitated. My schedule is complicated. Emma has school and practice and... Adrian? Victoria's voice was gentle but firm. I'm not asking you to rearrange your life. I'm asking when you have 2 hours free. Next week? Maybe Thursday? Thursday works. Same time, same place? Yeah, okay. They stood simultaneously, the table between them suddenly feeling like a barrier. I'm glad you came, Victoria said. Me too. They stood there awkwardly for a moment, two people who'd shared too much too fast, unsure how to end it. Victoria extended her hand. Adrian shook it, feeling the warmth of her skin. See you Thursday, Adrian Blake. Thursday, he confirmed. She turned and walked out first. Adrian watched her go, confident stride, head up like always. Then he grabbed his phone and headed to his truck. Emma was waiting outside the school with Mia when Adrian pulled up. Both girls climbed into the back seat, already deep in conversation about some video they'd seen. "Hey, Dad," Emma said between giggles. "How was your client meeting?" Adrian glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. "Fine." "You look different." "Different how?" "I don't know. Less tired?" She shrugged and went back to talking with Mia. Adrian drove home with the girls chattering in the back, half listening to their conversation about school drama and upcoming softball games. But part of his mind stayed at the cafe, replaying conversations, analyzing moments, trying to understand what he'd just started. At home, he ordered pizza for the girls and retreated to his workshop while they watched a movie. The space was organized chaos, half-finished projects, wood scraps, tools hung on pegboard walls. Adrian picked up a piece of maple he'd been shaping for weeks now, running his hands over the grain. "What are you doing, Dad?" Emma stood in the doorway, Mia behind her. "Just working on something." "What is it?" "Nothing yet. Maybe a box." "Haven't decided." Emma came closer, studying the wood. "It's pretty." "Thanks, sweetheart." "You should make something to sell, like those cutting boards you made for Christmas last year. Everyone loved those." "Maybe." "I'm serious. You're really good at this stuff." She paused. "You seem happier when you're out here." Adrian looked at his daughter, 10 years old and already too perceptive. "I like working with my hands," he admitted. "Then you should do it more." She said it simply, like it was obvious. Mia's mom says life's too short to only do stuff you have to do. Before Adrian could respond, his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, then decided to. "This is Adrian." "Mr. Blake? This is Karen Chen from Westside Elementary. I'm calling about Emma's permission slip for, the field trip. I signed it this morning. It should be in her backpack." "Oh, wonderful. Thank you. We just needed to confirm." Adrian hung up and looked at Emma. "Your teacher says hi." "She's nice. Hey, can Mia sleep over?" "It's Wednesday, Em. School night." "Please?" "We'll go to bed early. Promise." Adrian looked at Mia, who gave him an optimistic smile. "Fine, but lights out by 9. 9:30? 9:15. Final offer." "Deal!" The girls ran back to the living room, already planning their evening. Adrian returned to the maple wood, but his mind wandered back to the cafe. To Victoria's question, "What do you want?" "Time," he'd said. But that wasn't the whole truth. He wanted what everyone wanted, to feel like his life belonged to him instead of being owned by circumstances, to make choices instead of managing consequences, to wake up and feel excited about the day instead of just ready for it. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. "Made it home without panicking. Count that as progress." Adrian smiled, typed back, "Same. See you Thursday. Looking forward to it." He set the phone down and picked up the wood again. Outside, the sun was setting. Inside, he could hear Emma and Mia laughing about something. This was his life. Good life. Safe life. But for the first time in years, Adrian wondered what it might look like to want more. Thursday came. Then the following Tuesday. Then Saturday morning coffee before Emma's softball game. Each meeting felt easier and harder. Easier because they were learning each other's rhythms. Harder because each conversation peeled back another layer neither could replace. 3 weeks in, they sat in Victoria's car outside Adrian's house. He'd invited her for dinner, just casual, nothing formal. But now, parked in his driveway, the weight of it hit him. "You okay?" Victoria asked. "Emma's inside," Adrian said. "If you come in, this becomes real." As opposed to what we've been doing? That was separate, contained. He looked at the house, small, paid off, needing paint. "This is my actual life." "I know." Victoria's voice was patient. "That's why I'm here." Adrian took a breath. "She doesn't know about you. Not really. I told her I was meeting a friend for coffee a few times, but you don't bring people home. Not in 10 years. We can do this another time if—" "No!" Adrian said it firmly. "No, I want you to meet her. I need a second." Victoria waited, patient, present. "Okay," Adrian said finally. "Let's go." They walked to the front door together. Adrian unlocked it, stepped inside. Em, I'm home. In here. Her voice came from the living room. Emma sat on the couch, homework spread across the coffee table. She looked up, saw Victoria, and her expression shifted. Curious, cautious. Emma, this is Victoria. Victoria, my daughter Emma. Hi, Emma said carefully. Hi, Emma. Victoria's voice was warm but not overeager. Your dad's told me a lot about you. He hasn't told me anything about you? Adrian winced. It's fine, Victoria said quickly. That's fair. I'm just a friend of your dad's. We met at a wedding a few weeks ago. Emma studied Victoria with the intensity only 10-year-olds could manage. You're really pretty, she said finally. Thank you. So are you. Are you Dad's girlfriend? Emma! Adrian's face burned, but Victoria just smiled. We're friends, that's all. Okay. Emma seemed to accept this. Are you staying for dinner? If that's okay with you? Emma shrugged. Sure, Dad's making spaghettis. It's okay. Not great, but okay. Thanks for the endorsement, Adrian muttered. Dinner was strange and wonderful and awkward all at once. Emma asked Victoria direct questions, where she lived, what she did, if she had kids, with the fearlessness of childhood. Victoria answered honestly but simply, never talking down. So you're rich? Emma asked at one point. Emma! Adrian nearly choked on his water. I'm curious! Victoria laughed, genuinely. Yes, I have a lot of money. Cool. Can you buy Dad a new truck? His is really old. Emma, that's enough. But Victoria was still smiling. Your dad doesn't need me to buy him anything. He's doing fine on his own. I know, but his truck is embarrassing. After dinner, Emma retreated to her room for homework. Adrian and Victoria cleaned up the kitchen in comfortable silence. She's great, Victoria said, drying a plate. She's direct. I like that. No performance. She asked if you were my girlfriend. She did. Victoria set down the plate. What would you have said if she'd asked you instead of me? Adrian's hand stilled in the soapy water. I don't know. That's honest, at least. He rinsed the last dish, handed it to her. What are we doing, Victoria? Right now? Dishes. You know what I mean. She dried the plate carefully before answering. I think we're figuring it out as we go. Is that enough? I don't know. I'm not good at uncertain. Neither am I. Victoria set down the towel, turned to face him fully. But I like this. Whatever this is, and I want to keep doing it. Even knowing I come with complications? A daughter, a demanding job, a life that doesn't have room for what? For me? Victoria's voice was gentle. Adrian, I'm not asking for room. I'm asking if there's space for possibility. Before Adrian could respond, Emma appeared in the doorway. Victoria, do you want to see my room? Victoria looked at Adrian, who nodded. I'd love to, she said. Adrian listened to them go upstairs. Emma's voice excited, Victoria's responding with genuine interest. He stood in his kitchen, hands still damp from dishwater, and felt the careful walls he'd built starting to crack. This was dangerous. Letting Victoria into his life, into Emma's world, it meant vulnerability, risk, the possibility of loss. But standing there, hearing his daughter laugh with someone new, Adrian realized something. Maybe that was the point. The cracks kept spreading, slow but inevitable, like frost patterns on glass. Adrian felt them every time Victoria texted, every time Emma asked when she was coming over again, every time he caught himself thinking about her during a budget meeting or while cutting 2x4s. 6 weeks after the wedding, Victoria showed up at one of Emma's softball games unannounced. Adrian was in the bleachers checking his phone between innings when he heard Emma yell from the dugout. Victoria, you came! He looked up. Victoria stood at the fence line in jeans and a light jacket, waving at Emma like this was completely normal, like she belonged there. Adrian's stomach did something complicated. She climbed the bleachers and sat beside him without asking. Hey, she said. You didn't tell me you were coming. Would you have told me not to? Adrian didn't answer. Couldn't, really. Emma mentioned the game when I called yesterday, Victoria continued. She invited me. I figured... She shrugged. Why not? You called her? She gave me her number last week, when I was at your house. Victoria kept her eyes on the field. Is that a problem? It should have been. Adrian should have felt invaded, protective. Instead, he felt something else entirely, something that scared him more than anger, relief. No, he said quietly. It's not a problem. Emma came up to bat in the third inning. She looked nervous, adjusting her helmet twice before stepping into the box. She's anxious, Adrian said, half to himself. I can see that. She strikes out a lot, gets in her own head. The first pitch came high. Emma swung anyway. Strike one. Come on, Em, Adrian called out. Wait for your pitch. The second pitch was outside. She watched it. Ball one. Victoria leaned forward slightly, elbows on her knees. She's thinking too much. Story of her life. Well, the third pitch came down the middle. Emma connected, not perfectly, but solid enough. The ball bounced between first and second. She ran. Safe at first. Adrian found himself on his feet, clapping, not even realizing he'd stood. Beside him, Victoria was clapping too, genuinely pleased. Emma looked over from first base, spotted them, and grinned so wide Adrian felt something in his chest crack open further. After the game, a narrow win, 5-4, they went for ice cream at Emma's insistence. She sat between them at the small outdoor table, still in her dirty uniform, recounting every play in exhaustive detail. And then Mia threw to second, but Sarah totally missed it, and Coach was yelling, but in the good way, not the mad way. Em, breathe, Adrian said. I am breathing. I'm just excited. She turned to Victoria. Did you see my hit? I did. That was a good eye, waiting for the right pitch. Dad always says I swing at garbage. I don't say garbage. You say I need patience, same thing. Emma dug into her chocolate cone. Are you going to come to more games? Victoria glanced at Adrian. He tried to telegraph something, help maybe, or caution, but she'd already turned back to Emma. Do you want me to? Yeah, it's more fun when people watch. Then I'll try to come when I can. Emma seemed satisfied with this. She finished her ice cream and asked if she could walk to the park across the street. Adrian could see it from where they sat. Small, fenced, safe. 20 minutes, he said. Then we need to get home. Emma ran off, all kinetic energy and grass stains. Adrian and Victoria sat in silence for a moment, watching her climb the playground equipment with the same determination she brought to everything. She likes you, Adrian said. I like her. She's easy to like. That doesn't scare you, getting attached? Victoria turned to look at him. Does it scare you, me being around her? Terrifies me. Why? Adrian traced condensation on his water bottle, choosing his words carefully. Because Emma gets attached fast. She lost her mother, then her grandparents. She doesn't have a lot of people. He paused. If you're not serious about this, about being in her life, you should tell me now. What is this, Adrian? The question hit like a fastball he hadn't seen coming. What? You keep saying this like we both know what it means, but I don't think we do. Victoria's voice was steady, not accusatory. Are we friends? Are we dating? Are we just two lonely people passing time? Adrian's throat felt tight. I don't know. That's not good enough anymore. Not when Emma's involved. I know. So tell me what you want. Victoria leaned forward. Not what's safe or responsible or best for everyone else. What do you want? Adrian watched Emma hang upside down from the monkey bars, fearless in the way only children could be. I want you, he said quietly. I want this. Whatever this is. But I don't know how to do it without screwing everything up. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. I'm scared too, of getting this wrong, of hurting Emma, of... She stopped. Of caring too much and losing everything. So what do we do? Maybe we stop trying to define it and just let it be what it is. She reached across the table, her hand stopping just short of his. Maybe we trust ourselves to figure it out. Adrian looked at her hand, close but not touching, an invitation without pressure. He closed the distance, their fingers brushing. Okay, he said. Okay, let's figure it out. Victoria smiled, genuine, relieved. That might be the scariest thing you've ever said to me. Welcome to my life. Emma came running back, breathless and happy. Can Victoria come over for dinner again? Adrian looked at Victoria. She looked back. Yeah, he said. She can. The figuring it out part turned out to be messier than either of them expected. 2 weeks later, Adrian got stuck at a job site until 9 p.m. Foundation issues, emergency repairs, the kind of crisis that couldn't wait. He'd texted Victoria to cancel their dinner plans, expecting understanding. Instead, he got, "I'm at your house with Emma. She called me. You didn't tell her you'd be late." Adrian's stomach dropped. He called immediately. "Why is Emma calling you?" "No hello, just accusation." "Because you didn't answer your phone." Victoria's voice was calm. "She got scared when you weren't home by 6:30. She has my foreman's number, my neighbor's number. She didn't need to. She wanted me, Adrian. Is that a crime?" Is overstepping. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, "I made her dinner. We did her homework. She's in bed now. But if you want me to leave before you get home, I will." Adrian sat in his truck, surrounded by tools and dust, feeling like an asshole. "No," he said quietly. "Don't leave. I'll be home in 20 minutes. When he walked in, Victoria was on the couch, reading. She looked up, marked her page. "Before you say anything, I'm sorry," Adrian cut her off. "That was unfair. You were scared. I was an asshole. Both things can be true." Victoria set the book aside. "But Adrian, if this is going to work, whatever this is, you can't shut me out every time something unexpected happens." "I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you want me around until it gets complicated. Then you retreat." Adrian sat in the chair across from her, suddenly exhausted. "I'm not good at this. At letting people in. I've noticed. 10 years, Victoria. 10 years of doing everything myself. Of being the only one Emma can count on. You can't just show up and expect me to... To what? Trust you?" Victoria's voice stayed level. "I'm not trying to replace you. I'm trying to help. I don't need help. Everyone needs help. Not me." Victoria stood. For a moment, Adrian thought she was leaving. Instead, she sat on the coffee table directly in front of him, close enough that their knees almost touched. "Listen to me," she said quietly. "I get it. The control thing. The not needing anyone thing. I've built my entire life on it. But you called me 6 weeks ago and asked me to get coffee because you were drowning. Remember?" Adrian remembered. "I'm not trying to drown you further," Victoria continued. I'm here. And Emma called me because she trusts me. That's not overstepping. That's what happens when you let people into your life. I don't know how to do that without losing myself." "Who says you have to lose anything?" Victoria's eyes searched his. "Maybe you gain something instead." Adrian felt his defenses crumbling, all the walls he'd built to keep himself safe proving useless against simple honesty. "I'm scared," he admitted. "I know, me too. What if this doesn't work? What if it does?" The question hung between them. Upstairs, he could hear Emma's sound machine, ocean waves, the same track she'd slept to since she was a baby. "Stay tonight," Adrian said suddenly. Victoria's expression shifted, surprise, caution. "Adrian, not like that. Just stay. Sleep in the guest room. Be here in the morning." He paused. "Let me try this. Letting you in." "Are you sure?" "No, but I want to try anyway." Victoria studied his face for a long moment, then she nodded. "Okay, I'll stay." The morning was strange. Adrian woke to the smell of coffee and came downstairs to find Victoria and Emma at the kitchen table, already halfway through breakfast. "Dad, Victoria makes good pancakes." "Does she? Better than yours. No offense." "None taken." Adrian poured himself coffee, trying to find his footing in this new normal. Victoria at his table. Emma smiling. Everything shifted slightly off its axis. Victoria caught his eye. "Okay?" He nodded. More than okay, which was the terrifying part. After Emma left for school, they sat in the kitchen nursing second cups of coffee. "Thank you," Adrian said, "for last night, for staying." "You don't have to thank me." "Yeah, I do." He wrapped his hands around his mug. "I'm not good at accepting help, at admitting I need people. I've noticed. But I'm trying. With you. I'm trying." Victoria reached across the table, took his hand. "That's all I'm asking. The trying got easier, but not simple. There were fights, real ones, not just disagreements. Once about money, when Victoria offered to pay for Emma's braces, and Adrian nearly threw her out. Once about time, when Adrian worked 3 weekends straight, and Victoria called him out for hiding behind responsibility. Once about Emma herself, when Victoria suggested therapy might help with Emma's anxiety, and Adrian accused her of overreaching. But they fought fair, mostly. And they came back to each other, learning the rhythms of repair. 3 months after the wedding, Victoria invited them to dinner at her place. Adrian had never seen where she lived. They'd always met at his house or neutral territory. Now driving through the affluent neighborhood with Emma in the back seat, he felt that old anxiety return. "Holy crap," Emma breathed when they pulled up to the gate. "Language," Adrian said automatically. "But Dad, it's a mansion." It wasn't quite a mansion, but close enough. Modern architecture, all glass and clean lines, situated on what had to be 5 acres. Victoria met them at the door in jeans and a sweater, looking nervous for the first time since Adrian had met her. "Come in. Ignore the everything." The inside was beautiful and cold, expensive furniture, carefully curated art, nothing personal. It looked like a showroom. "This is where you live?" Emma asked, eyes wide. "Unfortunately," Victoria said it lightly, but Adrian heard the truth underneath. Emma wandered off to look at something while Victoria led Adrian to the kitchen, sleek, modern, probably never used. "I hate this place," Victoria admitted quietly. "Why do you live here then?" "Because it's what's expected. The family home, the image." She opened the refrigerator, notably empty except for wine and takeout containers. "I haven't cooked here in months. I ordered everything for tonight." Adrian looked around, at the perfect surfaces, the complete absence of life. "Victoria, I know, it's depressing." She pulled out containers of prepared food. "I spend maybe 3 nights a week here. The rest of the time I'm at hotels or the office or at my place." She met his eyes. "Or at your place." "Why?" "Because your place feels like a home. This feels like a museum." Emma came back holding a small sculpture. "Is this real?" "Real what?" Victoria asked. "I don't know. It looks expensive." "Probably. My decorator bought most of this." You have a decorator?" "Emma," Adrian started. "It's fine." Victoria smiled at Emma. "Yeah, I have a decorator, and a housekeeper, and a gardener, and none of it makes me happy." Emma set down the sculpture carefully. "That's sad." "It is, isn't it?" They ate dinner in the formal dining room, which felt absurd. 3 people at a table meant for 12. Halfway through, Emma asked if they could eat in the kitchen instead. "It's weird in here," she said. "Too fancy." They moved, Adrian carrying plates while Victoria grabbed glasses. In the kitchen, sitting at the island on bar stools. It felt more real. "Better?" Victoria asked. "Way better," Emma confirmed. After dinner, Emma asked to watch TV. Victoria showed her to a media room that probably cost more than Adrian's truck. Once she was settled, Victoria and Adrian went out to the back terrace. The view was stunning. City lights in the distance, landscaped gardens, a pool that probably cost 6 figures. "You really hate it here," Adrian said. "Is it that obvious?" "You look uncomfortable. In your own house." Victoria leaned against the railing. "My grandfather built his fortune, my father grew it, and I inherited the responsibility of maintaining it. This house came with all of that. The right address, the right image, the right everything." She paused. "But I didn't choose any of it. So choose differently. It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because..." Victoria stopped, frustrated. "Because people depend on me. Family, employees, charities. The foundation holds board meetings here. We host fundraisers. It's not just a house. It's an asset. It's a prison." "Maybe." Adrian moved closer, standing beside her at the railing. "You told me once that you'd spent 10 years becoming what everyone needed you to be." "I remember. Are you still doing that?" Victoria didn't answer immediately. Below them, landscape lighting illuminated the gardens in careful patterns. "Yes," she said finally. "But I'm trying to change it. With you. With Emma. Emma. That's real. That's mine." "Is it enough?" "I don't know." She turned to face him. "Is your business enough?" Emma, enough? Or do you want more too? Adrian thought about the furniture shop he'd never opened, the dreams he'd packed away, the life he'd built around duty instead of desire. I want more, he admitted. I'm just terrified of what that means. Yeah, me too. They stood in silence, the city breathing below them. Can I tell you something? Victoria said. Always. When I'm at your house, your small, needs paint, falling apart house, I feel more at home than I've ever felt here. Her voice was quiet. And that should probably scare me, but it doesn't. Adrian's chest tightened. Victoria, shut. I'm not asking for anything, she said quickly. I'm just being honest, like we promised. I know. Do you feel it too? Whatever this is becoming? Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who'd somehow seen through every defense he'd built, who'd walked into his carefully controlled life and made him want chaos. Yeah, he said. I feel it. What do we do about it? I don't know. Victoria smiled slightly. We're getting good at not knowing. Terrifyingly good. Inside, they could hear Emma laughing at something on TV. The sound carried through the expensive glass walls of Victoria's expensive house, making it feel briefly alive. She's happy, Victoria observed. She likes you. A lot. I like her too. Victoria paused. That scares me. Getting attached to her. Why? Because what if this doesn't work? What if we figure out we're wrong for each other and I lose her too? Adrian understood that fear intimately. Then we don't let that happen. We can't control everything. No, but we can try. He reached for her hand. We can try to make this work. Victoria's fingers laced through his. Is that what we're doing? Making this work? I think so. Unless you have a better plan. I've never been good at plans that involve feelings. Join the club. They stood there holding hands on a terrace that cost more than Adrian would make in 5 years. And somehow it felt right. Adrian? Victoria's voice was soft. Yeah? I think I'm falling for you. And it's terrifying. Adrian's heart hammered against his ribs. The smart thing would be to deflect, to joke, to retreat to safety. Instead, he said, I think I'm falling for you too. Victoria looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the landscape lighting. What do we do now? I have no idea. That's honest, at least. It's all I've got. She stepped closer, closing the distance between them. Is it enough? Adrian thought about all the ways this could go wrong. The complications, the risks, the very real possibility of losing everything. Then he thought about the alternative, going back to the life he'd had before Victoria. Safe, controlled, alone. Yeah, he said quietly. It's enough. Victoria kissed him then, soft and tentative, like testing water temperature. Adrian kissed her back, feeling a decade of careful control start to slip. They broke apart slowly. Wow, Victoria breathed. Yeah. We probably shouldn't have done that with Emma inside. Probably not. Neither moved apart. Adrian, I know this is complicated and messy and probably a terrible idea. I wasn't going to say that. Victoria smiled. I was going to say that I don't care about the complications. I want this anyway. Adrian felt something shift in his chest, fear and hope in equal measure. So do I, he admitted. Inside, Emma called out, Victoria, where's your bathroom? They stepped apart, reality reasserting itself. Coming, Victoria called back. She looked at Adrian. To be continued? Yeah, to be continued. They went inside together, hands briefly touching before separating. Emma emerged from the media room, oblivious to everything that had just shifted. This place is cool but kind of creepy when you're alone, she announced. That's because it's not meant for living, Victoria said. Just for show. That's dumb. It really is. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat. Adrian watched her in the rearview mirror, mouth slightly open, completely at peace. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. Thank you for tonight. Adrian typed back, thank you for being honest. We're doing this, aren't we? Actually doing this. Adrian looked at his sleeping daughter, at the life he'd built around keeping her safe, at the walls he'd maintained for a decade. Then he typed, yeah, we're doing this. I'm terrified. Me too. But let's be terrified together. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, together. I like that. Adrian set his phone down and drove home through quiet streets, feeling like he'd just jumped off a cliff without checking the landing first. And for once in his carefully controlled life, he was okay with that. The being terrified together part turned out to be harder than either of them anticipated. The first real test came 2 weeks later when Emma asked the question Adrian had been dreading. They were in the truck, heading home from school, when she said it casually, like asking about homework. "Is Victoria your girlfriend now?" Adrian's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Why do you ask?" "Because she's here all the time. And you smile different when she texts." Emma didn't look up from her phone. "Also, Mia's mom saw you guys at the movies last weekend and asked if you were dating." "What did you tell her?" "That I didn't know, because you won't tell me." Now she looked at him. "So I'm asking, are you dating her?" Adrian pulled into their driveway, put the truck in park. This conversation deserved eye contact. "Yeah," he said. "We're dating." Emma studied his face, processing. "Do you love her?" It's a question, Dad. Do you?" Adrian thought about Victoria's hand in his on that terrace, about the way she saw through his defenses and stayed anyway, about mornings waking up and immediately checking his phone for her texts. "I think so," he admitted. "It's still new, but yeah, I think I do." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Adrian's stomach churned, waiting. "Okay," she said finally. "Okay?" "Yeah, okay." She unbuckled her seatbelt. "I like her. She's nice. And you've been less grumpy since you met her." I'm not grumpy." "Dad, you're always grumpy, just less now." Emma opened her door. "Can she come to my tournament this weekend?" Adrian felt something unclench in his chest. "You want her there?" "Duh. She's good luck. We haven't lost a game since she started coming. That's not how luck works." "Whatever. Can she come or not?" "I'll ask her." Emma grinned and headed inside. Adrian sat in the truck for another minute, processing how easily his daughter had just accepted something he'd been terrified to admit. He texted Victoria. "Emma knows she's okay with it. Wants you at her tournament Saturday." The response came fast. "How okay?" "She called you good luck." "I'll take it." "What about you?" "How are you?" Adrian thought about it. Relieved. Terrified. Both. "Want me to come over tonight?" "Yes'm." Victoria arrived after Emma was in bed, carrying takeout and a bottle of wine Adrian wouldn't have known how to pronounce. "Peace offering," she said, in case the conversation with Emma went badly. It didn't. She was fine. Adrian took the food to the kitchen. Better than fine, actually. She basically just wanted confirmation. "And how do you feel about that?" "Like I can breathe again." He pulled out plates. "I've been dreading that conversation for weeks." Victoria opened the wine, poured 2 glasses. "What were you afraid of?" "That she'd be upset. That she'd feel like I was replacing her mom or choosing you over her or—" He stopped. "All the irrational fears divorced parents have, I guess. Except I'm not divorced. I'm just—" "Abandoned," Victoria finished quietly. "Yeah." They ate on the couch, some crime show playing unwatched in the background. Victoria had kicked off her shoes, feet tucked under her. She looked comfortable here, in a way she never looked at her own house. "Can I ask you something?" Adrian said. You always ask permission. Just ask." "What are we doing?" Victoria set down her wine glass. "I thought we covered this. We're figuring it out as we go." "No, I mean—" Adrian struggled to articulate it. "What's the end game here? Where does this go?" "Does it need an end game?" "I have a daughter, Victoria. I can't just see where things go. I need to know if this is real or if it's just what?" Her voice had an edge now. "Just me passing time? Just a temporary distraction?" "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" Adrian set down his plate, frustrated. "I mean, I need to know if you're in this. Actually in it. Because Emma's already attached to you, and if this falls apart—" "You think I don't know that?" Victoria stood, started pacing. "You think I don't feel the weight of that every time she calls me or asks me to her games? So tell me what you want." "I want you. I want this." Victoria stopped pacing, turned to face him. But I don't have a timeline or a 5-year plan. I don't know where this ends up because I've never done this before. Never done what? Cared about someone more than I care about controlling the outcome. Her voice cracked slightly. I've spent my entire life managing risk, Adrian, calculating returns, making sure everything has a clear purpose. And then you happened, and suddenly I don't care about any of that. I just want to be here. Adrian stood, closing the distance between them. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pressure you. Yes, you are. You're asking me to guarantee something I can't guarantee. She looked up at him. I can't promise I won't screw this up. I can't promise I'll be perfect for Emma. All I can promise is that I'm here because I want to be, not because it's smart or strategic or serves some purpose, just because I want you, both of you. That's enough, Adrian said quietly. Is it? Yeah, it is. Victoria searched his face. You're sure? No, but I'm trying to be. He pulled her closer. I'm trying to trust this, to trust you. I'm terrified I'll let you down. Join the club. I'm terrified of everything. Victoria laughed, wet and shaky. We're a mess. Complete disaster. But we're trying. Yeah, we are. They stood there holding each other in Adrian's living room, the TV still playing unwatched, half-eaten takeout cooling on the coffee table. Nothing resolved, nothing certain, but somehow enough. The tournament that weekend was a disaster and a revelation in equal measure. Emma's team lost in the semifinals, a close game that came down to a controversial call at home plate. Emma was devastated, crying in the dugout while her coach tried to console her. Adrian started towards her, but Victoria put a hand on his arm. Wait, she said quietly. She's upset. I know. But look. Emma's teammates were gathering around her, forming a protective circle. The coach was talking, gesturing. Emma was nodding, wiping her eyes. She needs them right now, Victoria said. Not you. It went against every parental instinct Adrian had. But Victoria was right. Emma needed to process this with her team, not be rescued by her father. 20 minutes later, Emma emerged from the dugout, red-eyed but composed. She walked straight to Victoria, not Adrian. The ump was wrong, she said. I know, sweetheart. Sarah was safe. Everyone saw it. I know. Emma stood there, fighting tears again. Victoria crouched down to her level. It's okay to be angry, she said, and sad, and frustrated. You played your heart out. We should have won. You're right, you should have. Emma finally let herself cry again, and Victoria pulled her into a hug. Adrian watched them together, this woman who'd had no children of her own, holding his daughter like she'd been doing it for years. Something in his chest cracked open wider. Later, after ice cream and the mandatory post-game analysis, they dropped Emma at Mia's house for a sleepover. The ride back to Adrian's was quiet. Thank you, Adrian said finally. For earlier. You were right. I would have rushed in. You're her dad. That's your job. But you knew better. Victoria looked out the window. I don't know about better, just different. She paused. Can I tell you something? Always. When Emma came to me instead of you, it felt good, and then I felt guilty for feeling good, like I was trying to replace you. You're not replacing me, you're just… Adrian searched for the right word. You're becoming important to her. That's different. Is it okay? Me being important to her? Yeah, it is. He reached over, took her hand. It's more than okay. They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Victoria said, I need to tell you something. Adrian's stomach tightened. Okay. My family wants to meet you. Your family. My aunt called this week. She's heard I'm seeing someone. Victoria's voice was carefully neutral. She wants to invite us to dinner, both of you, you and Emma. Adrian pulled into his driveway, killed the engine. How does your family feel about you dating a construction worker with a kid? Adrian, it's a legitimate question. Victoria turned to face him. My family doesn't get a vote in who I date. But to answer your question, they're curious. My Aunt Catherine, the one who invited me to the wedding, she's happy. Says she hasn't heard me this animated about anything in years. And the others? Reserve judgment until they meet you.
She paused. Does that bother you? Should it? I don't know. Does it? Adrian thought about it. About walking into a room full of people who'd judge whether he was good enough for Victoria based on his bank account and pedigree. Yeah, he admitted. It bothers me, but I'll do it anyway. You don't have to. Yes, I do. If we're doing this, actually doing this, I need to meet them eventually. Victoria smiled slightly. You say that like you're agreeing to a root canal. Might be more pleasant. Adrian Blake, are you nervous about meeting my family? Terrified, actually. Good. That makes two of us. The dinner was scheduled for the following Saturday at Catherine's house. Less formal than Victoria's place, she'd promised, but still intimidating. Adrian spent the week alternating between anxiety and preparation. He bought a new shirt, got a haircut, rehearsed conversation topics in his truck between job sites. Emma thought the whole thing was hilarious. Dad, you're acting like you're going to meet the president. These people are important to Victoria. So, we're important to her too. Emma looked up from her homework. Just be yourself. That's who she likes. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just don't listen. The night of the dinner, Adrian changed shirts 3 times before Victoria texted that she was outside. Emma was staying with Mia again. This first meeting was adults only, which somehow made it worse. Victoria looked beautiful and nervous, dressed simply but expensively. You look nice, she said. You sound surprised. I'm not, just nice. They drove to Catherine's house in tense silence. The neighborhood was old money, tree-lined streets, historic homes, the kind of place where people had gardeners and probably tennis courts. Breathe, Victoria said as they pulled up. I'm breathing. You're white-knuckling the door handle. Adrian forced himself to relax. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Just be you. She squeezed his hand. That's enough. Catherine answered the door herself. A woman in her early 60s, elegant but warm. She pulled Victoria into a hug, then extended her hand to Adrian. You must be Adrian. I've heard wonderful things. Thank you for having me. Of course, come in, come in. The house was beautiful without being ostentatious, lived in, comfortable, full of books and art that looked collected rather than curated. Adrian felt marginally less terrified. In the living room, 3 other people waited. Catherine made introductions. Her husband Robert, Victoria's Uncle Thomas, and his wife Janet. They were polite, asking appropriate questions about his business, about Emma. Adrian answered carefully, aware of being evaluated. Dinner was better. The conversation flowed more naturally over wine and courses Adrian couldn't have named. Thomas turned out to be funny, self-deprecating about his own failed business ventures. Janet asked intelligent questions about construction, clearly actually listening. Catherine watched Victoria throughout the meal, a small smile on her face. After dessert, Catherine asked Victoria to help her in the kitchen. Adrian knew it was strategic, giving the others a chance to talk to him alone. So, Thomas said once they were gone, you're the one who's got Victoria smiling again. I don't know about that. I do. Catherine says she hasn't seen her this happy since before her mother passed. Thomas leaned back in his chair. That's significant. Victoria's important to me, Adrian said carefully. And her money? Janet asked bluntly. That's not important? Janet, Robert started. It's a fair question. Adrian looked at Janet directly. No, her money isn't important to me. Actually, it's one of the hardest parts of this. The gap between our worlds. Honest answer, Janet said, seeming satisfied. My daughter asks me if Victoria's my girlfriend, Adrian continued, surprising himself with the candor. And I tell her yes. And she asks if I love her, and I say, I think so. And none of that has anything to do with money. It has to do with the fact that Victoria sees me, really sees me, in a way nobody has in 10 years. The table was quiet for a moment. That's all we needed to hear, Thomas said finally. Well, that and whether you're going to hurt her. I'm going to try not to. Also honest. Thomas raised his wine glass. Welcome to the family circus, Adrian. In the kitchen, Victoria and Catherine were loading the dishwasher. He's wonderful, Catherine said. Don't start. I'm not starting. I'm observing. He's genuine, clearly loves you, and looks at you like you hung the moon. Catherine rinsed a plate. What's the problem? There's no problem. Victoria. Victoria stopped, hands in soapy water. I'm scared I'm going to ruin this, that I'll try to control it or fix it or make it into something it's not supposed to be. And what's it supposed to be? I don't know. That's the terrifying part. Catherine dried her hands, turned to face Victoria fully. Your mother would have loved him. You know that, right? Victoria's eyes welled. Don't. She would have. She always said you needed someone who saw you for you, not the trust fund. Catherine pulled her into a hug. Let yourself have this, sweetheart. Let yourself be happy. What if I screw it up? Then you screw it up, but at least you tried. They stood there for a moment, Victoria allowing herself to be held like she was young again. He has a daughter, Victoria said quietly. I know. If this doesn't work, I lose both of them. And if it does work, you gain both of them. Catherine pulled back, looked at her. Risk is part of love, Victoria. You can't calculate your way around it. The drive home was quiet. Adrian navigated through dark streets while Victoria looked out the window. That wasn't as terrible as I thought it would be, Adrian said finally. They loved you. Your uncle threatened me in a very polite way. That means he approves. Victoria turned to look at him. You were perfect. I was nervous. You were honest. Same thing. She paused. Catherine wants us to come for Thanksgiving. Adrian's hands tightened on the wheel. Thanksgiving? I know it's fast. I told her I'd ask you. What about Emma? She's invited too, obviously. Adrian thought about Thanksgiving, historically just him and Emma, sometimes with a neighbor, small, contained, safe. It's a big step, he said. I know. Meeting the family, holidays together, that's real, Victoria finished. That's real life. Committed relationship stuff. Are we ready for that? I don't know. Are we? Adrian pulled into Victoria's driveway. She'd driven herself to his place earlier, left her car there. He put the truck in park but didn't kill the engine. I want to say yes, he said quietly. I want to tell you we'll come for Thanksgiving and it'll be great and we're ready for all of it. But I'm still figuring out how to let you in, how to trust this. He looked at her. I'm not there yet, Victoria. I want to be, but I'm not. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady. That's okay. We don't have to go to Thanksgiving. We don't have to do anything you're not ready for. I'm not saying never, just not yet. I understand. Do you? Because I feel like I'm constantly disappointing you. You're not disappointing me. You're being honest. She reached for his hand. That's all I ask. Don't pretend you're ready when you're not. What if I'm never ready? What if I'm too damaged to do this right? Then we figure that out together. Victoria squeezed his hand. But Adrian, you're not as broken as you think you are. How do you know? Because broken people don't fight this hard to do the right thing. Broken people don't worry about disappointing others or protecting their daughters or being worthy. She paused. Broken people give up. You haven't given up. Adrian felt something shift in his chest, fear releasing just slightly. I want this to work, he said. I know. I'm just scared of screwing it up. Also no. So what do we do? Victoria smiled slightly. We keep trying, keep being honest, keep showing up. That simple? That complicated? Adrian laughed despite himself. We're still a mess. Absolutely, but we're a mess together. Yeah, we are. Victoria leaned across the console, kissed him softly. Call me tomorrow? Always. She got out, walked to her car. Adrian waited until she was safely inside before backing out of the driveway. On the way home, he thought about Thanksgiving, about family dinners and the kind of commitment that made things permanent, about the life he'd built around keeping things simple and the woman who was slowly, methodically, making everything complicated. His phone buzzed at a red light. Victoria. Thank you for tonight. You were brave. Adrian typed back, didn't feel brave, felt terrified, same thing sometimes. Yeah, maybe. He set the phone down and drove the rest of the way home thinking about bravery and fear and whether he was capable of the kind of trust this required. At home, the house felt empty without Emma. Adrian went to his workshop, picked up the maple box he'd been working on for months. He ran his hands over the grain, feeling the smoothness where he'd sanded it down. His phone rang.
Victoria. Hey, he answered. Can I come over? Adrian looked around his empty house. Emma's not here. I know. That's why I'm asking. A pause. I don't want to be alone tonight. And I don't think you want to be either. She was right. Adrian didn't want to be alone. Yeah, he said. Come over. She arrived 20 minutes later, still in her dinner clothes, but barefoot, carrying nothing. Hi, she said at the door. Hi. They stood there for a moment, the weight of the evening settling between them. Can we just not talk? Victoria asked. Can we just be together without analyzing everything? Adrian nodded, stepped aside to let her in. They ended up on the couch, Victoria's head on his shoulder, some movie neither was watching playing on TV. Adrian ran his fingers through her hair absently, feeling her breathe. This is nice, she said quietly. Yeah, it is. We should do this more, just exist together. Agreed. They fell into comfortable silence. Outside, the neighborhood settled into night. Inside, two people who'd spent their lives controlling everything finally stopped trying. Adrian? Victoria's voice was drowsy. Yeah? I'm falling asleep. That's okay. I should probably go home. Or you could stay. Victoria lifted her head to look at him. Yeah? Yeah, stay. She settled back against him. Okay. They fell asleep there on the couch, tangled together in a way that would leave them both sore in the morning, but feeling less alone than either had in years. And for the first time since that wedding 4 months ago, Adrian let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. The maybe turned into something more solid over the next few months, though not without resistance from both of them. January brought ice storms and a crisis at the Jefferson Street project, structural issues that threatened to blow Adrian's budget completely. He spent 3 days practically living at the site, coming home only to sleep and check on Emma. Victoria noticed his absence but didn't push. Instead, she showed up at the site on the 3rd day with coffee and breakfast sandwiches. You look terrible, she said, handing him a cup. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. When's the last time you slept more than 4 hours? Adrian unwrapped the sandwich, suddenly starving. What day is it? Thursday. Then Tuesday. Maybe. He took a bite, chewed. This is really good. I didn't make it. I bought it. Victoria leaned against his truck. Talk to me. What's going on? Adrian explained the problem, foundation settling, walls shifting, the kind of nightmare that could sink a small company. Victoria listened without interrupting, her business mind clearly working. How much are you short? She asked when he finished. About 40,000, maybe more, depending on what we find. He rubbed his eyes. I can cover some of it from savings, take out a loan for the rest. It'll be tight, but I can write you a check right now. Adrian went still. No. Adrian, no, absolutely not. It's just money. It's not just money. It's you trying to fix my problems. He set down the sandwich, suddenly not hungry. I don't need rescuing, Victoria. I'm not rescuing you. I'm offering to help. With money, which is what everyone wants from you, and I'm not everyone. Victoria's jaw tightened. That's not fair. Neither is this. You can't just throw money at every problem. Why not? If I have it and you need it, because then this becomes about what you can give me instead of who we are together. Adrian's voice rose despite himself. I don't want your money, Victoria. I never have. So you'd rather struggle and stress yourself sick than accept help from someone who loves you? The words hung between them. Someone who loves you. Neither had said it out loud until now. Do you? Adrian asked quietly. Love me? Victoria looked away toward the construction site. I shouldn't have said that, but you did. I know. So do you mean it? She turned back to him, her eyes holding something vulnerable and frightened. Yes, I love you, and it's terrifying, and I wish I didn't because it would be so much easier, but I do. Adrian felt his defenses crumble. Victoria, and I can't just watch you drown when I have the resources to help. That's not controlling, Adrian. That's caring. Her voice cracked. So yes, I want to write you a check, Not because I think you're incapable or need rescuing, but because I love you and I can, and why shouldn't I? Adrian stared at her, all his carefully constructed walls feeling suddenly pointless. I love you too, he said. Victoria blinked. What? I love you, and I'm sorry for being an asshole about the money thing. He ran a hand through his hair. I've spent 10 years proving I don't need anyone, and you're asking me to need you, and that's hard. I know it's hard, but I do need you. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. Not your money, you. And I hate needing anyone, but I need you anyway. Victoria stepped closer, her hand finding his. So let me help, please. Not because you can't do it yourself, but because you don't have to. Adrian looked at their joined hands, at this woman who'd somehow become essential to his carefully controlled life. Okay, he said quietly. Okay? Okay. But as a loan with interest. I'll pay you back. Victoria smiled despite the tears in her eyes. Fine. Loan. With ridiculous interest. Victoria, I'm kidding. No interest. But yes, loan. She squeezed his hand. We'll draw up papers and everything. Make it official. Thank you. You're welcome. She paused. And Adrian? I meant it. I love you. I know, I love you too. They stood there by his truck, construction noise surrounding them, both looking slightly shell-shocked by what they'd just admitted. So what now? Victoria asked. Now I finish this job, and then I take you to dinner, somewhere nice. You don't have to. I want to. Let me do something for you for once. Victoria smiled. Okay, dinner, somewhere nice. That night, after putting Emma to bed, Adrian sat in his workshop staring at the maple box he'd finally finished. It was simple but beautiful, clean lines, smooth finish, the grain visible and perfect. He'd made it for Victoria without really planning to. Just kept working on it during late nights when he couldn't sleep, shaping and sanding until it felt right. Now holding it, he wondered if it was enough. A box against everything she'd given him. Not just money, but presence, understanding, love. His phone rang. Victoria. Hey, he answered. Are you okay? After today? Yeah, I'm good. He turned the box over in his hands. Better than good, actually. Yeah? Yeah. Saying it out loud, the love thing, that helped. It did, didn't it? He could hear the smile in her voice. I was terrified to say it. Me too. But now it's out there. Now it's out there, Adrian agreed, and the world didn't end. Shocking, right? They talked for another hour about nothing important, the kind of conversation that was really about staying connected. When they finally hung up, Adrian felt lighter than he had in weeks. The dinner happened 2 weeks later at a restaurant Adrian had to look up how to pronounce. He wore the suit from the wedding, now slightly familiar instead of foreign. Emma had helped him pick a tie. The blue one, she'd insisted. It makes your eyes less tired looking. You're really selling this. I'm helping. There's a difference. Victoria met him there, dressed in something dark and elegant that made Adrian forget how to speak for a second. Hi, he managed. Hi yourself. She looked him over. You clean up well. Emma picked the tie. Smart girl. Dinner was perfect in the way expensive dinners were. Each course carefully prepared, wine that probably cost more than Adrian's grocery budget. But Adrian found he didn't care about any of that. He just watched Victoria across the table, this woman he'd somehow gotten lucky enough to love. What? She asked, catching him staring. Nothing. Just, you're beautiful. She smiled. You're not so bad yourself. After dessert, Adrian pulled out the box. He'd wrapped it simply, feeling foolish about the presentation. What's this? Victoria asked. Just open it. She unwrapped it carefully, revealing the maple box. Her fingers traced the grain, feeling the smoothness. Adrian, this is gorgeous. It's not much, just something I made. Victoria opened the box, empty inside, waiting to be filled with whatever mattered to her. You made this. For me? Yeah, I know it's perfect. She looked up at him, eyes bright. It's the most perfect thing anyone's ever given me. It's just a box. It's not just a box.
You made it with your hands. For me. She held it like it was precious. Thank you. Adrian felt his throat tighten. You're welcome.
They walked after dinner, hand in hand through downtown streets, neither ready for the night to end. Victoria carried the box carefully, like it might break. Can I tell you something? She said. Always. I've been thinking about my house, that big empty museum. Yeah? I want to sell it. Adrian stopped walking. What? It's not a home. It's never been a home. It's just obligation, family expectation, the right address. She turned to face him. And I don't want to live my life based on what's expected anymore. Where would you go? I don't know yet. Somewhere smaller. Somewhere that feels like mine. She paused. Maybe somewhere closer to you. Adrian's heart hammered. Victoria. I'm not asking to move in. Not yet. I want to be closer to you and Emma, to this life we're building. What about your family? The foundation meetings? I'll figure it out. Rent a space for events, host meetings somewhere else. She squeezed his hand. I'm tired of living for everyone else's expectations, Adrian. I want to live for mine. Adrian pulled her closer. What do you expect? Honestly, I don't know. And that's terrifying and exciting all at once. Yeah, I get that. They started walking again, the city quiet around them. Emma asked me something last week, Adrian said. What? If you were going to move in with us. Victoria tensed slightly. What did you tell her? That it was complicated. That we were taking things slow. And she said slow is boring and she wants you around more. Adrian smiled. Direct quote. She's very wise. She is. He paused. For what it's worth, I want you around more too. But you're not ready for me to move in. Not yet. But maybe... He stopped, gathering courage. Maybe we're heading there. Eventually. Victoria leaned into him. Eventually sounds good. Spring came gradually, thawing the frozen ground and bringing new projects. Adrian hired 2 more workers, expanding carefully. The Jefferson Street building was finished, came in just under budget. Clients started calling without him having to chase them. Victoria sold her house in April. She'd bought a smaller place 10 minutes from Adrian, a renovated craftsman with actual personality, rooms that felt human-sized, a yard she could manage. Emma helped her move in, claiming creative control over the guest room. This is where I'll stay when I sleep over, she announced. When you sleep over? Victoria asked, amused. Yeah, obviously. Emma looked at her like she was slow. You and Dad are basically together all the time anyway. I should have a room here. Adrian started to protest, but Victoria just laughed. Fair point. What color do you want? They painted it blue together, the 3 of them in old clothes, making a mess, laughing when Emma got more paint on herself than the walls. Adrian watched them work together and felt something settle in his chest. This was family. Not traditional, not what he'd planned, but real. That night, after Emma went home with Adrian, Victoria called him. Thank you, she said. For what? For letting me be part of this. Part of your lives. Victoria, you're not part of our lives. You're... Adrian searched for the right words. You're essential. You're family. Yeah? Yeah? She was quiet for a moment. I never thought I'd have this. This feeling of belonging somewhere. I never thought I'd want someone to belong. Adrian settled into his couch, phone pressed to his ear. But I want you. Here. With us. All of it. All of it? All of it. That's terrifying. Completely, but I mean it anyway. Victoria laughed softly. We've come a long way from that wedding. 6 months. Feels like longer. In a good way? In the best way. They talked until late, the kind of rambling conversation that was really just an excuse to stay connected. When they finally hung up, Adrian sat in the quiet of his living room and realized something had changed. He wasn't scared anymore. Or rather, he was scared, but it didn't matter. The fear didn't control him. Summer brought Emma's 11th birthday. She wanted a pool party at Victoria's house, which had an actual pool, unlike their place. If that's okay, Emma added quickly. I don't want to assume. Victoria had hugged her. Of course it's okay. It's your birthday. The party was chaos. 20 kids, Too much sugar, water everywhere. Victoria handled it with surprising grace, organizing games and managing meltdowns with the efficiency she usually reserved for board meetings. Adrian watched her from a lounge chair, marveling at how seamlessly she'd integrated into their lives. "She's good with them," Marcus said, appearing beside him with a beer. Adrian hadn't seen his friend since the wedding, their schedules never quite aligning. "Yeah, she is. You happy, man?" "Yeah, I am." Marcus clinked his beer against Adrian's water bottle. "Good. You deserve it. Thanks for the speech. At your wedding. The one that almost made you pass out?" "That's the one." Adrian smiled. "If you hadn't done that, I might never have talked to her. So I'm taking credit for this whole thing? Don't push it." They watched the party for a while, kids splashing and screaming in that way that suggested they were having the time of their lives. "She's good for you," Marcus said finally. "Victoria, you look different than you did 6 months ago." "Different how?" "Less tired, less like you're carrying the world alone." Marcus paused. "Happy. You look happy." Adrian thought about that. Was he happy? The word seemed too simple for what he felt. But yeah, underneath the fear and complication and messiness, there was happiness. "Yeah," he said, "I guess I am." That night, after the last kid had been picked up and Emma had crashed in her designated bedroom, Adrian and Victoria cleaned up the backyard in comfortable silence. "That was exhausting," Victoria said, collapsing into a lounge chair. "You loved it." "I really did," she smiled. "Is that weird, that I loved hosting a party for a bunch of 11-year-olds? Not weird, sweet. Emma had fun. She had the best time." Adrian sat beside her. "Thank you for this, for all of it." "Stop thanking me. She's important to me too." "I know, but still, thank you." Victoria reached for his hand. "Adrian, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Where do you see this going? Us, I mean." Adrian's stomach tightened. "Why? Are you having doubts?" "No. The opposite." She turned to face him. "I know where I want this to go. I want to know if you want the same thing. What do you want?" "I want this to be permanent. I want to be part of your life and Emma's life for real. Not just the fun parts, all of it. The stress and mess and complications." She paused. "I want us to be a family." Adrian felt his heart hammer against his ribs. "That's a big thing to want." "I know, and I'm terrified, but I want it anyway." "What if I screw it up? What if I'm too damaged to give you what you need?" "You're not damaged. You're cautious. There's a difference." Victoria squeezed his hand. "And I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for real." Adrian looked at her. This woman who'd seen him at his worst and stayed anyway, who loved his daughter like she was her own, who'd somehow made him believe in possibility again. "I want that too," he said quietly. "The permanent thing. The family thing. All of it." "Yeah?" "Yeah." Terrified, but yeah. Victoria leaned in, kissed him softly. "We're really doing this. We're really doing this. No more hiding. No more hiding." They sat there under the stars, hands linked, both slightly terrified and completely certain. The fall brought change, but the good kind this time. Adrian opened a small shop in the building next to his office. Just 2 rooms, but enough for the custom furniture work he'd been dreaming about. He couldn't afford to do it full time yet, but weekends and evenings he could create. Victoria helped him set it up, handling the business side while he focused on the work. Emma claimed the official title of creative consultant and took it seriously. "You should make stuff for kids," she suggested one Saturday, "like toy boxes and desks, stuff that actually matters." Adrian looked at Victoria, who shrugged. She's not wrong. So he started making children's furniture, pieces that were beautiful and functional, built to last. Word spread slowly but steadily. By November, he had a waiting list. "You're happy," Victoria observed one evening, watching him work. "I am." Adrian ran his hand over a half-finished rocking horse. "This feels right, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Building furniture instead of buildings? Building things that matter on a human scale. Things people will use and love and pass down." He set down his tools. "Thank you for pushing me to do this." I didn't push. I just helped you stop hiding from what you wanted. Same thing. Victoria smiled. Maybe. Thanksgiving came, and this time when Catherine invited them, Adrian said yes. The dinner was warm and chaotic, Victoria's extended family filling Catherine's house with noise and laughter. Emma fit right in, charming Victoria's cousins and holding her own in political debates with the adults. After dinner, Catherine pulled Adrian aside. "She's different with you," she said, watching Victoria help Emma with dessert. "Different how?" "Lighter. More herself." Catherine smiled. "Thank you for that." "I didn't do anything." "You loved her. You saw her for who she is, not what she has. That's everything." Adrian watched Victoria laugh at something Emma said, her whole face bright and unguarded. "I'm the lucky one," he said. "I think you both are." Christmas Eve found them at Adrian's house, small but warm, decorated with Emma's enthusiastic help. Victoria had insisted on cooking, which terrified Adrian until he tasted the results. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" he asked, around a mouthful of roast. "YouTube. Last month." She grinned. "Turns out I'm good at following directions." Emma laughed. "You're good at everything." "Not everything. Your dad's better at building things. And you're better at softball. But you're better at business and cooking and making Dad smile." Victoria's eyes met Adrian's across the table. "I like making your dad smile." "We can tell," Emma said sagely. "You guys are gross." After Emma went to bed, Adrian and Victoria sat by the tree, lights twinkling in the dark room. "This was a good day," Victoria said, her head on Adrian's shoulder. "Yeah, it was. I love this, being here with you both." "We love having you here." Adrian paused. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that." Victoria sat up. "About what?" Adrian's heart raced, but he pushed through. "About making this more permanent, more official." "Adrian, let me finish." He took her hand. "I know we said we'd take things slow, and we have. But it's been almost a year and I'm tired of slow. I'm tired of you having your place and us having ours, when what I really want is for us to just have one place. Together." You want me to move in? I want more than that." Adrian reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box, not the maple one, but something else he'd been carrying for weeks. "I want you to marry me." Victoria stared at the box, then at him. "Adrian, I know it's fast, I know we're still figuring things out, but I love you, Emma loves you, and I don't want to spend another year being cautious when I could spend it actually building a life with you." "What about Emma? Did you ask her?" "She helped me pick the ring." Adrian smiled. "She said it was about time I stopped being chicken." Victoria laughed, tears streaming down her face. "She would say that." "So? What do you say?" "I say yes. Obviously yes." She wiped her eyes. "Did you really think I'd say anything else?" Adrian opened the box, revealing a simple ring, elegant but not ostentatious, practical but beautiful. He slipped it on her finger with shaking hands. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." Victoria pulled him close. "We're really doing this, getting married. We're really doing this." Emma's going to lose her mind. Probably. They sat there holding each other, both crying and laughing, the Christmas tree lights casting patterns across the room. Upstairs, Emma's door creaked open. She appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. "Did she say yes?" she called down. Adrian looked at Victoria, who nodded. "She said yes." Emma whooped and ran downstairs, launching herself at both of them. "Finally! I've been waiting forever!" "It's been less than a year," Adrian pointed out. "That's forever in kid time." Emma squeezed between them. "Can I be in the wedding?" "Obviously," Victoria said. "Who else would walk me down the aisle?" Emma's eyes went wide. "Really?" "Really, if that's okay with your dad." Adrian felt his throat tighten. More than okay. They sat together on the couch, awkward and cramped and perfect, until Emma finally fell asleep between them. "We should put her to bed," Victoria whispered. "In a minute." Adrian didn't want to move, didn't want to break this moment. "Let's just stay here a bit longer." So they did, the three of them tangled together, breathing in sync. The wedding happened in May, a year and a week after Marcus's wedding, where everything had started. They kept it small, Catherine's garden, Close family and friends only. Emma did walk Victoria down the aisle wearing a dress she'd picked herself and carrying a bouquet Victoria had let her design. Adrian cried when he saw them coming toward him. Victoria cried too. Even Emma got misty-eyed, though she denied it later. Marcus was best man because of course he was. In his speech, he said, "A year ago, I called Adrian out at my wedding. I told everyone he was the strongest person I knew, and I was right. But what I didn't know then was that he was strong enough to let someone in, to stop hiding, to choose love over safety." He raised his glass. To Adrian and Victoria, and to Emma, who basically orchestrated this whole thing. May you always be brave enough to choose each other. The reception was perfect chaos, kids running wild, adults dancing badly, food that was good but not fussy. Victoria's family mixed with Adrian's friends, and everyone seemed genuinely happy. Late in the evening, Adrian found a quiet moment with his new wife on the edge of the garden. "Mrs. Blake," he said. "I'm keeping Hale, actually," Victoria corrected, "for business." "Mrs. Hale Blake?" "Better." She leaned into him. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified, happy, overwhelmed." He paused. "Perfect. I feel perfect." Even though nothing's actually perfect? Especially because of that, Victoria smiled. "I never thought I'd have this. Real happiness, a real family." "Neither did I." They watched Emma dance with one of Victoria's cousins, laughing and spinning. "She asked me something last week," Victoria said. "What?" "If she could call me Mom." Adrian's breath caught. "What did you tell her?" "I told her to think about it, to make sure it was what she really wanted." Victoria's voice was soft. "And this morning, she asked again, said she was sure." "And what did you say?" "I said yes, if you're okay with it." Adrian felt tears burn behind his eyes. "More than okay." "Yeah?" "Yeah. You are her mom, in every way that matters." Victoria wiped her eyes. "We're going to cry through this whole wedding, aren't we?" "Probably." Emma ran over, breathless. "Dad, Victoria, they're cutting the cake." "We'll be right there, sweetheart," Adrian said. "Okay, but hurry." She ran off again, all energy and joy. Adrian took Victoria's hand. "Ready? For cake or for the rest of our lives?" "Both." Then yeah, I'm ready." They walked back to the party together, hand in hand, neither hiding anymore. 2 years later, Adrian stood in his workshop, now a full store with regular hours and 3 employees, watching Victoria help a customer choose a dining table. Emma was in the back room doing homework, music playing softly. This was his life now. Furniture maker, husband, father. Not the life he'd planned at 22, but better than anything he could have imagined. Victoria caught his eye, smiled. He smiled back. "Dad," Emma called, "can Victoria and I go get pizza for dinner?" "Sure. Bring back enough for everyone." "Even Jacob?" She meant his newest employee. "Even Jacob." They left in a flurry of activity, Victoria's hand on Emma's shoulder, both of them laughing about something. Adrian's phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. "Love you. Be back soon." He typed back, "Love you too." Simple words. But they meant everything. The store closed at 6. Adrian locked up, said goodbye to his team, and drove home through familiar streets. The house, their house now, Victoria having sold her craftsman when they'd bought this bigger place together, glowed with lights. He could see movement through the windows, hear laughter. Inside, Victoria and Emma were setting the table, arguing good-naturedly about napkin placement. The dog, a rescue they'd gotten 6 months ago over Adrian's weak protests, barked a greeting. "Pizza's getting cold," Victoria said, kissing him hello. "Hi to you too." "Hi, now sit, eat." They gathered around the table, the 3 of them plus whoever else had been swept into their orbit that day. Tonight it was just them, which was perfect. "How was school, Em?" Adrian asked. "Good. Boring. The usual." She grabbed a slice. "Oh, Coach wants to know if you guys can chaperone the tournament next month." Adrian looked at Victoria, who shrugged. "I can move some meetings." We'll make it work," Adrian said. They ate and talked and laughed, this family they'd built from broken pieces and brave choices. It wasn't perfect. Emma still had anxiety. Victoria still worked too much. Adrian still panicked sometimes when things felt out of control, but it was real, and it was theirs.
Later, after Emma was in bed and the dishes were done, Adrian and Victoria sat on the back porch with wine and quiet. "Good day?" Victoria asked. "Good day." Adrian pulled her closer. "Good life." "Yeah, it is, isn't it?" They sat in comfortable silence, stars appearing overhead. "Can you believe it's been 3 years," Victoria said, "since the wedding where we met?" "Feels like longer. In a good way. In the best way." She turned to look at him. "Do you ever regret it, saying yes to coffee that first time?" "Never." "You?" "Not once." She paused. "Well, maybe once. When you were being stubborn about the Jefferson Street money." Adrian laughed. "Fair." "But other than that, never." They fell quiet again, the night settling around them. "Adrian?" Victoria's voice was soft. "Yeah?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. For choosing me. For building this life with me." She squeezed his hand. "For letting me be part of your family. You're not part of it. You are it." Adrian kissed her temple. "We're a family because of you." "We're a family because of us, all three of us." "Yeah, we are." Inside, they could hear Emma moving around, probably getting water or checking her phone one more time before actually sleeping. "She's good, isn't she?" Victoria said. "Happy." "Yeah, she is." "We did okay." "We did better than okay." Victoria smiled. "We really did, didn't we?" Adrian thought about the man he'd been 3 years ago, hiding at table 17, convinced he needed to stay invisible to stay safe. About all the walls he'd built and the woman who'd refused to let them stand. "Yeah," he said, "we really did." They sat there until the night grew cold, then went inside together. Checked on Emma, sound asleep with her phone still in her hand, locked up the house. Got ready for bed with the easy rhythm of people who'd learned each other completely. In bed, Victoria curled against Adrian's side, her breathing already slowing toward sleep. "Love you," she mumbled. "Love you too. Don't let me sleep through my alarm." "I won't." "Promise?" "Promise." She was asleep within minutes. Adrian lay awake a bit longer, listening to his wife breathe, his daughter snore softly down the hall, the house settle around them. This was happiness. Not perfect, not simple, but real and earned and worth every terrifying moment it had taken to build. 3 years ago, Adrian had gone to a wedding planning to disappear. Instead, he'd been found, and he'd never been so grateful to be seen in his entire life.